And hello, everybody. Welcome to CoCoTALK with your special guest host today, Grant Leighty. Take it away, Grant.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? We got Curtis here today.
Hello, everyone.
We have Mark. We have David Ladd.
Hello.
And then we have Ron the Garage.
Yep. Ron the Garage?
I'm big as
my Ron, you can.
And then, of course, we have CoCoSDC.
Well, let's not forget Mr. Blue Sky over here.
Yeah, I forgot about him because they have a picture. And Nick Marentes. So anyways, I'm guest hosting today because Steve's having some bandwidth issues still ongoing. The saga that keeps on going on week after week. But hopefully he'll be taken care of here next week when he switches to AT&T, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So guys, what we want to talk about since we're kind of doing this on the fly today?
Why don't we start by saying this is the first time we've been live in probably 3 weeks because of my bandwidth. So, which is good, and it's good that we have a backup now. So Grant is streaming from his house. And I'm actually calling into him on Skype, and so it's still the same Skype call. It's just coming from a different place, and it's nice to have a backup. So it's a real last-minute makeshift setup, but it's a halfway decent setup. And thank you, Grant, for doing this. And I'm glad we can still get together, and I'm glad that we are live again. Finally, it's been very frustrating not being live. Okay, John Linville is saying echo, echo, echo. Is anybody listening to the stream right now? Hold on. Oh, you know what? I know what the deal is. Hold on, Grant. Let me take a look at your XSplit. This is a freaking problem. This is a brand new installation of XSplit. Thank you, John. Okay, this is why it says I need somebody to watch the live chat. So we have to go to audio, microphone, none, default, microphone, none. All right, that should fix that. Yeah, there's some. This is this is XSplit. You don't have to make my face big. It's ugly. Take me off the thing. And I'm buffering already, which is my bandwidth issue. But okay, so in the live chat we have Coco Man says hi. We have Paco saying hello everyone. We have John Linville saying echo, 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 and we have Coco Man saying echo, echo, and then we have Curtis saying hello everyone. So somebody keep an eye on the live chat. So this is makeshift, definitely makeshift, but we're live. And I'm going to shut up now because Grant's hosting the show. I apologize.
And so what we want to talk about, guys? Anything new and exciting going on? Curtis?
Not a whole lot.
I got my Force to Doom finally.
Yes, actually, I got mine here a couple days ago myself. It's actually it's quite addictive. Haven't gotten very far in it.
Yeah, I have not touched my CoCo since Tandy Assembly, unfortunately. So that's on my plans, and then today just kind of went a little bit sideways for me. So it's high on my list to play Force of Doom on a real CoCo. This is interesting watching it from the other side now.
I was wondering, though, for everybody who's ordered Force of Doom, is there anybody who still has not received the manual yet?
I got mine on Tuesday.
Got mine yesterday.
David, when did
you
you
get mine? Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I've got a personally autographed copy that I've had for several weeks now.
Shut up, Steve. Where's he live again?
Take us off a big screen, Grant. You click on me and Curtis and get everybody even. Unless we're the only ones with cameras, because now Ron's got a camera too, right?
Yeah. Dave, Mark, and Nick do.
You gotta. It takes a while to manage screens, I think. Oh, there's Nick's face. Nick's face came up. At least he's on my side. Is Nick's face on your side?
Nope.
No, not on mine.
That's weird. Like on my Skype, I see Nick's little pretty face there, but I don't see him on yours.
Because he's your friend. I see him on mine, but I don't see him on the main one either.
So how do I take it back off of you guys and put it back?
I think you just have to selectively keep clicking on faces until everybody comes back in.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. It's kind of like musical chairs.
And it's weird, too. It's backwards on my side, too.
Welcome to controlling a live show, Grant.
Yeah, and the new producer here. We set this up in about 15 to 20 minutes. So it was pretty quick. So how does everybody like Forced to Doom, though? Is it? I think it's very, very addictive. It's very hard, very random.
Random numbers suck. That's my basic premise on Force of Doom.
Random numbers suck. When we were talking on Discord in the car the other night, and I remember like David yells out, "Oh no, I turned to stone!"
I thought it was a drug reference, but okay.
It's difficult because you try to figure out, is it better to try to fight first or fight a little bit and then try to bribe, or you just run? If there's a lot of them, running doesn't work. No.
Yeah.
And do you have to read the book? Is it that important to read the book, or you do a Steve thing and just throw the book aside and just start playing?
Well, it's helpful because
it helps.
Like it says, a vampire is pretty much impervious to everything, so you just better run. Other things, some of them are incensed if you try to bribe them. So. And
as you level up, though, I mean, you can kill a vampire in a single blow once you're like level 5, 6 type thing. I've just had bad luck where I've been wounded and I'm trying to make it to the end to get cured up, and I'm level 6 or something, and all of a sudden I get attacked by like 3 dragons, and you can't run. So I haven't won it yet, but I haven't had too much time to play it either.
And has anybody played the new game? Is it called Lumberjack? I believe it's what it is, or
Timberman.
Timberman. That's it. Yes.
I have not. I think Steve had a beta of it, didn't he?
Yeah, I had a early release of it, and it's good. And honestly, because it's based on a smartphone game where you actually have to tap very quickly on 2 sides of the screen. So what's happening as you're chopping down a tree, the branches are coming lower, and you have to keep like switching sides so your head doesn't get hit by a branch, and it's all speed based. But I was doing it with a deluxe joystick that was self-centering, so I was fighting the springs to get to each side, and it was like impossible to play. And as soon as I realized that I could go freewheeling on it, it's literally a Twitch game where you have to just like click. It was a whole nother game, because before I couldn't get more than like 30 chops and I died. Then I was getting up to like the 200s. So it's just a really fast reflex game. You definitely wear out some buttons with that game.
You have to hit the button and move the joystick simultaneously?
Yeah, you have to move the joystick to what side you want to chop from, and then hit the button to chop.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I thought I was just flicking the joystick back and forth.
Yeah.
So this is definitely not one recommended to play with a rollerball or anything.
Well, I think the way he has it set to read the axis, it only reads like really far left and far right. So you probably could use a lot of different things, including a digital stick if necessary.
I think like a rollerball controller or a mouse would be a little bit too much lag time trying to get your ball moved over. So
I would think you'd overshoot probably with the ball.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch the stream on mine. I can't even see the stream. So is anybody able to see the stream to make sure Grant's streaming good? Because I can't receive it.
I'm seeing lag.
And it's just doing the round circle thing. Nothing's happening.
That's what I'm seeing too.
Yeah, see, it says the live stream is offline for me as well.
All right, let me see.
Hit the button.
Mine doesn't say offline, but it's just lagging. But I get that normally.
Yeah, I'm just getting the spinning dial thing too.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you.
Okay.
John Linville
just confirmed that, yeah.
Yep.
All right, so let me see what's going on with Grant's.
I know it's not the internet.
It's probably because of the GPU and CPU stuff.
A lot of PUs.
Yeah. I'm
Talk to Bill about that one.
Having a hard time seeing XSplit on Grant's computer right now. Grant's thing still says it's running. So your output, it says it's streaming. But I'm trying to lower the bandwidth on it. I mean, the program says it's streaming, but the website doesn't. We're still recording locally. So this is what the hell? Okay.
Oh wait, I just got the stream on YouTube.
Okay, the stream just came back.
Yep, mine did too.
We're still recording. Yeah, so you're still recording locally, right, Grant, on your XSplit? All right. So, all right. So for those of you who missed the stream, we were just mentioning some of the games that we're talking about, Forest of Doom, and then we were talking about what was it, Timberman?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess Paul Thayer's already picked out his next project too, from the sound.
Oh yeah.
Now is Timberman available yet, or is it?
Infamous game poll.
What was the deal? He was doing pre-orders on that for the SD card or whatever?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, I think he was contacted by email. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I'm not sure what status is if it's shipping yet or not. But
yeah, do we have a link for the pre-orders yet or anything like that? Does anybody know?
I think he's asking people to email him, and maybe you PayPal him, and then he'll email you.
There's a Facebook post, if I remember right.
Yeah. I don't remember the details, but yeah, it was on Facebook.
Cool. Any other new games coming out in the near future? As Ron is holding up a CoCo.
Ooh, CoCo with the white keyboard.
Gotta have somebody represent.
Yes.
There was it Pierre Surratt, the
the new adventure game. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been dying to look at that too. The
now, no offense.
What are you drinking from the bottle there, Grant?
It's Pure Leaf iced tea.
Okay, look like a little mini bottle of Jack Daniels. I'm like, dude, come on, we're running a show here, brother.
That's so he's less stressed.
When is that?
When I see the square-shaped bottle, first thing I think of is JD. You know, it's like a little airline size.
Straight up mix. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, now I know how stressed Steve gets now, because this is stressful.
Look how stressed Steve is. What happened to his hair?
I was going to mention about the game, the adventure game, the graphical adventure game that Pierre put out. That it on the CoCo, it feels a little bit unfinished because it was written originally for the Dragon, which has slightly larger disk drives, so it's split onto 2 disks. But when I tried it, he gives you a warning that you have to swap disks once you get to the end of a street. Well, if you haven't played the game before, you don't know when the end of the street is, and as soon as you hit that, the game just exits with an error if you don't swap the disks right at the right time. So it kind of feels a bit unfinished at this point.
Okay.
For the CoCo, anyway. I think the Dragon fits on 1 disk image, so it doesn't have that problem.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. You walk around with the arrow keys and stuff, and you actually walk in front and behind things, kind of like the Sierra games go. Ooh. So it's a pretty decent little graphic adventure game. Digitized sound effects as well. You open a car door, you hear it open, you hear the engine starting on the truck, that kind of thing.
We'll have to get a playthrough here.
Yeah, I've been finished.
Steve.
Yeah. I actually reached out to. Is it Pierre
Saracen or something like that?
So I had actually reached out to him, seeing if he wanted to do an interview about that. But he did mention that his English is not the absolute best as far as his speaking English. But he wrote me a nice little letter. Okay. So my camera just went cuckoo. I can switch my camera. I didn't realize I was running. Let me try to pull that up. So you guys keep talking. I'll look for Pear's email.
Okay. Yeah, Syrian might be able to help you a little bit with talking about the game too, because he was testing it for Pear, I think, earlier on the Dragon.
Yeah, okay. At least. Pear, P-E-R-E, Surratt, Pear.
Yeah.
Okay, so here was his little thing he wrote me. He said that. Concerning the shark, it began as a challenge that the graphics designer put to me, saying that this had never been done on the Dragon, and he wanted to see a short demo before drawing more scenes. I got to move Brody, and he liked it, so the project begun. I had never ever programmed a code line on graphics nor sound, and despite that, I added a reduced wave player. Everything has been done as an exercise to learn Dragon hardware in deep. I am guilty of a few other projects too, so he's giving me a little short list here. So he's like DOS Plus 5.0 extended that allows Dragon users to extend DriveWire files and disks natively and add support for the magic CoCoSDC that works flawlessly on the Dragon now. I ported a Spectrum game called The Hobbit from Z80 to 6809, and it runs on the CoCo and the Tano Dragon with 64K. He also says I converted the Orchestra 90 to the Dragon, which will work even without needing DOS at this point. And I've done some other minor projects in collaboration with Simon Jonason, Stuart Orchard, and Tormod. So, so Per's been doing a lot of things. So, yeah, I had wrote to him saying, would you like to do an interview? And he just said, well, my speaking English isn't that good, but I'll be happy to write you something. So he wrote me a little email. So I thought that was cool.
Cool. I still haven't tried the Hobbit yet, actually, so I gotta find a copy of that again.
And I'm sure his speaking English is better than my foreign language of any other language outside of English anyway. So.
Nice picture there, Steve.
You like that?
Yeah.
Technology. What is he holding up there?
Compu-Serve Ad by the looks of it.
Compu-Serve. The year 2000. The world may catch up with the way Compu-Serve's new electronic mail lets you shop today. Oh, by the year 2000, huh? By the year 2000, the world may catch up.
Little did they know the internet actually was going to do that.
Right.
And totally trounced CompuServe out of existence.
I like that shirt there, Grant.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I forgot to put on my CoCoTALK shirt today. So yeah, I'm slacking. There's your mug. Let's let me answer some shameful plugs here. Here's some merchandise I'm holding up too. I got my okay, of course I can't even see my camera now. I don't know if my Skype is just flaked out on me.
You just froze there for a second.
Okay, so here's my two Coco mugs. I'm a Coco Nut, the cartoon and the mug, right? Does Steve ISP thinks he's fixed now? Okay, Nick says I'm getting the occasional stutter. Yeah. Now, I'm actually getting a new ISP on Monday, so this is a makeshift show. I thought it'd be nice to try to do a live show. Probably, looking back already, it was a terrible idea.
I have a picture of David Ladd.
You have a picture of David Ladd?
Yeah, did you want to see it?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. On the right there? That David Ladd, like that mustache. That's really good.
That's from Color Computer Magazine.
David's been infamous for decades.
For years, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Steve, you're switching to AT&T Uverse. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm not,
Are you getting the fiber version or just the broadband?
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't know what I'm getting till they get on here. I'm just tired of this thing not working. Whatever it is, I know it's not going to be as good as what I should have. But what I should have doesn't work. I just need something that works. Okay. I was getting 25 megabits up before. I know I'm not going to get that. I'd be lucky to get 10. So whatever it's going to be, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed, but I'll just be happy if it's consistent. Yeah.
Okay. No.
Maybe I'll just have to produce it from here and let you do the talking like you're doing now.
Good old CenturyLink, huh?
I have Google Fiber.
I have that down here.
Yeah, Grant's got Google Fiber.
YouTube just went spinning again.
Yep.
I'm going to grab a drink. I'll be back.
Must be a YouTube thing because we're all seeing the same thing. So.
Yeah, that's really weird because I know it's not bandwidth unless it's the GPU.
See, make sure the local recording's still recording, Grant.
Yeah, that's got a check mark still there.
Well, thank God for recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it could just be the GPU, because I know NVIDIA video card 750 and above comes with the NV encoder engine built right in, so
it's hardware accelerated.
Yep. So software like Open Broadcaster software, XSplit can just
use it.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the GPU or something. That's really interesting. We'll have to get that updated this week.
Hey, did you guys see that
the Rainbow?
Ron Cline has a CoCo 3 with a Pi in it.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's Chris Hawks of Hawksoft that makes the CoCo 3 keyboard to USB adapter.
I could stop shaking. That's all the
JD.
Yeah. All right. Well, it seems like the people who are watching it saying that it's stopping more than it's starting. So, do we want to?
How can we check to see what's causing that, or do we know?
No, I have no idea.
Just went offline. Oh, there it's back.
Are you running anything else in the background, Grant? You can kill off, or?
No, there is nothing else running.
That might be the GPU then, if it can't render fast enough.
Well, we'll get that replaced here this week then, and that will solve that problem.
Let's see something. I'm trying to see your software. Can you?
I mean, I could kill my video so we have one less video stream to encode.
Yeah, I can kill mine too.
It's kind of funny though. We both are having the same problem.
Yeah, I want to take a look at the XSplit software on your computer right now.
Okay.
Which I can't see. Okay. So let's close this. Yeah, so we're doing 720p at 30 frames per second. So, and I did the bandwidth test on your computer. Your computer is able to do the bandwidth. So yeah, it's got to be the GPU can't keep up with the scene as I'm looking at it here. I don't know what to do. So I guess the next question is do we attempt to try to keep this live train wreck going, or do we just stop and start over and record the show like we've done in the past?
Well, right now it seems to still be going. Like since Ron and I both killed our cameras here, it looks like it's staying on. I haven't got a stall since we did that.
Yeah, it looks like it's keeping up.
Yeah, Nick just said it's better. Nick Marotta.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Cool.
All right.
And, then we'll David, find me that link, and we'll get that ordered and get that replaced here this week.
Look at this guy giving orders. It's first day of hosting a talk
It's gone
show.
to his head already.
Balking out orders.
Hey.
Bring me.
You were the one to put him in the seat of power, you know.
Permanently replacing his host, you know.
Well, I appreciate everybody who's here watching the show. I appreciate everybody who joins the show every week. It's been a fun little project. It's been so frustrating to not be able to do this live and to have to deal with all these technical challenges. And even today now, a little bit of a technical challenge.
Yeah.
But not bad, because we just started this literally about 45 minutes ago when I got the phone call.
Yeah, it was like a last-minute thing. So, hey, Grant, you want to try to stream? Let's see if we can throw something together. I
want to talk about some content? Have something going on here?
Yeah, Ron.
I was surprised that the CoCo 4 picture that I ran across evidently doesn't have anything in it.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was just a case. A concept case.
But it's a Model 1 with a house on it.
A Model 1, because like a keyboard with a house on it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that picture that's floating around, I guess Boise and Bill got that for their book, right?
Yeah, that was when they met with one of the Tandy guys down in Texas. Can't remember which one it was now. He actually had the prototype still at home after he retired.
Was there
But it never went past that stage. There was no motherboard design for it. Basically, Tandy axed the CoCo before it went any further than that concept case.
So were they going to extend the gimme out? Were there thoughts like that, or does anybody?
Never got that far.
No.
All they did basically was they took the principle of the Tandy 1000 case with the built-in floppy drive and stuff, and kind of said that'd be cool to have on the CoCo, and then they never got past that point to figure out if they're going to add a sound chip or serial port or what they were going to do with as far as the hardware. Never got that far. It got axed before that.
Do you think that the case was made so that you could put a monitor on top of it, or?
I'm not sure if that was the actual design. I mean, it probably would have worked as long as it didn't block heat vents. I think it was more to make it an all-in-one where you didn't have this external, floppy drive sitting on the side type thing, because people were going to the more compact designs with the Tandy 1000 EX and stuff. So I think that was more the goal at the time. But like I said, it barely got to that prototype case stage just to see how it would look, and then it was totally canceled. The entire CoCo line was canceled at that point, so it never went further.
Well, the Tomcat and the MM1 were supposedly, next version of CoCo, but was there any other ones?
There was a PT68K4, which was an OS 9 68000 machine, but using PC hardware. So that XT slots and stuff, so you could actually use like VJ cards and stuff, running OSK. But those were all unofficial CoCo 4s. That was the third-party manufacturers trying to come up with something to replace the CoCo after Tandy Council. That prototype case was actually the very last thing that Tandy themselves did as far as the CoCo line.
Okay. So any of that stuff backward compatible with CoCo at all?
The Tomcat was somewhat, because it actually used a gimme and it used the DAT board from the Dista 1 meg upgrade, also supported 1 meg RAM, had enhanced keyboard, using the AT keyboard, had enhanced joystick and sound, 8-bit sound, 8-bit joystick reads. But it was probably the closest, and there was a special version of Disk Basic for it that Chris Burke did that you'd boot off flop and you could run some of your old basic programs and stuff too. And the others were all basically 68K machines. So they were the successors with OS 9. So if you're familiar with OS 9, it was basically, the 68000 version of OS 9. And then Kevin Darling actually made the equivalent of Multiview, ported over. But unless you were into OS 9, it wasn't backwards compatible with Disk Basic.
So you had the Tomcat?
Yeah, I have one still.
Okay, and so when it ran CoCo stuff, was it 4 times faster? Or?
No, it was basically the same specs as the CoCo 3, except it had 1 meg of RAM as the default. And then
everything ran at the right.
Yeah, that's the same chips, same CPU, same gimme, so basically the same limitations there. The sound and the keyboard and the joystick ports were hardware enhanced, but as far as speed goes, no. I mean, I did put a 6309 in it because it was socketed, so it was nice. So I did run Nitrous 9. In fact, it was one of the main development systems, that one and Bill Noble's, for making Nitrous 9 back in the early days of it.
Neat.
And speaking of the Nitrous 9, Curtis, how is the ease of use Nitrous 9 project coming along?
I wish I had ease of time to work on it. I did get a little bit done yesterday and today, but basically the rest of the week, because I was on holidays for last weekend, and then a bunch of work came in, so I had to catch up all that stuff. So I'll be working on a bit more this weekend. I'm hoping to get an early alpha to you and Steve, just to fiddle around with a little bit and give us some commentary on it. But we're still plugging away at it. Bill did some work on it last weekend, a fair bit, so it's slowly coming along. I did notice on the list, though, there was some talk about making an ease of use version of OS 9, and it sounds like they don't have any clue we're doing this. And they were also talking about making boot files, and we're kind of bypassing that a little bit by making just a standard boot for people to fiddle with. But
I don't know that the list acknowledges the fact that things like podcasts and live streams exist, because I've only
anything else.
Yeah. So, hey Grant, why don't you run a commercial, and then I have an interesting little announcement to share, as well as we'll do some viewer feedback.
All right, and it's hit bumpers and commercials, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, have you got your CoCo 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer StevieStrow here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer StevieStrow sent you.
All right, we are back.
Sorry.
All right, Steve had a announcement.
Yeah, so as far as our podcast, meaning the audio version of the show, we have now reached 3,000 downloads. So that's a pretty cool number to reach. And we are averaging Over 100 downloads per week. So we're averaging between 100 to 120 downloads per week on our episodes, in addition to the 100 plus views that we get. So, we're in the 800 to 1,000 consumptions per month, which is pretty good. And I have to say, so good. I just thought that reaching that 3,000 number was kind of a cool milestone to reach.
So is it too early for me to ask for a raise?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got some feedback on some of the most recent views on things. So yeah, one of the videos where I showed off my beard, I forgot which one that was. That might have been episode 32, Hardware Talk. Fedor, our friend in Denmark, says there's some color artifacting around your mouth, Steve. So yeah, I have definitely shaved since then. It's not a good look for me. Ed Serbinsky mentioned that Disto is a Montreal company, which is when we were talking about hardware and a Disto memory. Yep. Jim Gary says Steve Bjork uses BASIC. So I don't remember when Steve mentioned that, but he did. On the end of CoCoTALK 32, when we had FiceGap join us, or maybe that was 31, when FiceGap joined us, Paul Fiscarelli. And that was 32. I get these numbers confused. So Paul had mentioned that he's going to do a blog, and he was inspired by Glen Hewlett's blog. And Glen watched the episode and responded. It says, hey, it's another great show, and I was really taken back when I heard Paul Fiscarelli talking about his amazing disk imaging tool, and he said he wanted to write a blog similar to mine. That was neat to hear that someone is looking at it, and even more so that it inspired someone to make their own. So that's cool. I think there's a lot of that inspiration being, fueling other people to do things. And then last but not least, we got a message from James Jones on our hardware episode where he was talking about, because Curtis mentioned there was a bunch of different, CoCo 4 contenders. He mentioned that the MM1B that Kevin Pays did, a 68,000 box that I think could take an ISA card. It ran OS 9 68K. Also, any of you have a Sartis Tech no-halt floppy controller? I have one, but I never got around to maxing the cache RAM. Do you guys know about this Sartis Tech no-halt floppy controller?
Yes. Bill Noble actually owned one of them.
Okay.
They had an 8K cache or a 32K cache version of it. And basically, with the cache, the size it had compared to, say, the Dista, which had a much smaller one, you could write entire tracks, format the drive with absolutely no pausing to the CPU whatsoever. And directories would be instantaneous because it wouldn't even have to read the disk. It would just go, oh, that's still in the cache, so here you go. It was quite fast.
Neat. So yeah, that was cool. That was cool to reach that number, and it was cool to get a little bit of feedback. Definitely.
Yep. And speaking of blogs, if you're interested in IRQ programming on the CoCo 1, 2, or 3, there is an excellent blog post by Glen Hewlett put up here just in the last couple of days.
Actually, 5 of them.
Yeah, one whole group basically explaining different parts of it. So I know Rick Adams said it was helpful for him for the new game he's working on because he was a little bit rusty on it. So definitely worth the read. I took a look at it. It's quite good. Basically explains what are interrupts, and then why would you use them, and then some sample code showing you how to use them in BASIC as a background task in BASIC, or just with the game on your own or whatever. Quite a good read.
We have interrupts here, don't we?
Yeah, YouTube's one big interrupt, but
yeah. Are we still streaming on YouTube? Looks like it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's still going good. So I think the bandwidth with all the different videos we had going, I think was part of the problem. Which points to the video card.
Yeah, which we'll get that updated. So that should hopefully resolve that issue. So.
And Nick Maroda in the live stream is saying that you're making me upset. I got rid of my CoCo 2 and broken CoCo 3. So it's never too late to get another CoCo, though, right?
Yep. Have you got your CoCo 3 yet?
All right.
And just to let you know, I was on eBay, and there's a lot of good stuff on there right now. Somebody must have got a big lot and sold a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And they were not too outrageous either. I think I saw a CoCo 3 for like under $100.
Wow.
Which is very unusual.
Yeah, I've been watching things, but I haven't been bidding on too many things. Matter of fact, the only thing I bid on that I actually won is I got an Intelevision. I was looking for a Tandy-Vision because they actually had a Tandy-Vision, which was Radio Shack's rebranded version of the Intelevision.
Yep.
But I lost a bit on that one. But I did get an Intelevision with the synthesizer module, and I think I got it for $40. I was like, yeah, that's a good deal. So.
And Tandy-Vision, that was the one that was done in the wood grain finish, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Reitveld, Henry Reitveld had posted a video of that. There was a game for it he posted because it was called Bomb Squad. So there was a game for the Intelevision called Bomb Squad, and it used the speech synthesizer. So he had posted a video of that in the Facebook group, I think.
Okay, I think I did see that actually.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny.
Were there a lot of games for the Tandy-Vision?
Well, the Intelevision library, basically.
It was Intelevision. Tandy-Vision was the Intelevision, just branded by Tandy. So there was there had to be easily like a 50 to 100 games.
Yeah, I think closer to 100 from what I remember.
Yeah. I'm hoping they're going to have something like a CoCoSDC where I can buy the multi-cart and put in an SD card and just load ROMs off it or something like that.
Yeah, I know there was an all-in-one little console like you've seen for the Atari 2600 and the Commodore 64.
Yeah.
There was an Intelevision one out with all the game library on it.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that there is.
Yeah, the Intelevision had a really unique controller because it was kind of like this disc that you had to push on.
Yeah, the 16-direction disc thing you pressed on, and then you had a keypad too, like the ColecoVision later did.
Yeah, so it was definitely uncommon, and I believe that I think that probably hurt it because I don't think most people were used to with that.
No, I remember actually back in the day they had this little disc with a little stick sticking out of it that you would basically glue onto that controller.
Oh, that you could stick onto it, yeah, turn it into a stick, right? Yeah.
But it didn't tilt that much, so it didn't really play that well. I did try it back in the day. But they were the first video game console, I think, to have a speech pack.
Might have been.
By then.
Yeah, and it seems like that synthesizer had some programmability to it, so it wasn't always the same voice.
Yeah, I had some pitch changes you could do to it. And also, I mean, compared to the other main machine at the time, which would have been the Atari 2600, definitely had better graphics capability.
Yeah, higher resolution, better looking sprites, more sprites on the screen, and a little bit better music too. Yeah, Nick Marotta saying that the controllers also had those coily cords like old phones. Yeah, because that was one of the things when we interviewed Dale Lear, what he was saying, that the Intelevision baseball at the time was kind of the gold standard for a home computer baseball game, so he wanted to show that we could do something better than that. I
remember the big, was it George Plimpton that used to plug all the Intelevision sports games versus Ataris?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it did have better graphics, but it was weird. If you've seen those games, it's like it had a built-in character set, but they were really blocky looking characters. It wasn't like actual ASCII fonts like you're used to on a PC or anything, so they were really blocky, and that was this character set that was used for pretty much everything. It was just an interesting. I think they could have done better if they had more commercial titles. I just think that even though it was a better piece of hardware, they didn't get a lot of like popular games for it. So.
No, I mean they had the nice Dungeons and Dragons series, the official license one, and a few other specialty ones, but yeah. I mean, I think the controller was part of the problem because, I mean, for playing a lot of the Twitch arcade games, it just didn't lend itself well to that.
Yeah.
And then basically once the ColecoVision came out, that was the end of Intelevision.
Yep.
Steve, do you want to tell everybody what you've been doing with your other channels?
I don't know. I think I've already mentioned it, but why don't you remind me because I forgot.
About how you're rebranding your channels to reflect like 21st century gaming and retro gaming, and then the CoCo.
Yeah, that.
It's a plug.
It's a plug. Yes. Yeah.
That's the most enthusiastic commercial I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He's tired.
Yeah, I am tired. That's another reason besides bandwidth. I wasn't even planning on being awake this long because I got like 4 hours of sleep. But yeah, and part of the bandwidth has been a challenge, but my original gamer channel is going to feature only retro games. There's a new CoCo channel that this live stream is on that's going to feature nothing but CoCo, and then any new games like especially Minecraft or any newer modern PC games. I have a channel for that called 21st Century Games. So I've got the original gamer channel that's, 70s, 80s, and 90s video games. I've got the CoCo channel, which will be all CoCo. And then I have a new game channel. And eventually I hope to have a different talk show on each channel. So CoCoTALK will have something similar to CoCoTALK on the Retro channel. That'll be called Retro Talk. And then later on we'll have something on the 21st Century Gaming that we'll just call Gaming Talk or something like that. So we'll have different talk shows that cater to different demographics as far as, fans and genres of different styles of games and periods of games and stuff.
Now, are you going to be doing any crossover between the CoCo and the Retro, or are you keeping those completely separate?
I was thinking about that. I'll try not to as much as possible, but I think something like the Steve Bjork interview probably needs to be posted on both channels because he kind of crosses over. Okay. But I think, CoCoTALK is going to stay on CoCo channel. Like Retro Talk will, mostly be retro, but if it makes sense to be on both, then it'll be on both.
Okay, because I thought if you do some comparison videos, say you want to do official adaptations of Rampage, and you do the CoCo one and the,
like the showcase that we've done before. Yeah. Well, yeah. So if the goal is to show a CoCo game compared to other systems, then that would end up at least on the CoCo channel, if not both. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, one thing I did want to mention, and I know Grant's downloaded, I've downloaded, I haven't had a chance to look at it, is that the complete Color Computer archive has been updated, where you can download one zip that basically has everything CoCo related. And Grant, you've actually had a chance to look at it, so you know what all is on there? Is it manuals and stuff too, or just disk images, or what?
First of all, it's pretty much you just download it, unzip it, and then just put it over onto your SD card, and then you put it right into your SDC, boot up your computer, and it boots into the CoCo Explorer. And then you just click like you do on anything else. It has everything. It has the rainbow on tape, the rainbow on disc. It has all the games, utilities. I believe it even has like the old OS 9 level 1 stuff. From what I read, it's basically everything that's on the CoCo archive, with the exception of the PDFs of the manuals and the magazines and so forth like that. So anything program-wise, it's on there.
Okay, that's cool. Because I did pick up the hardware version of it at the Fest a couple years ago. I can't remember who was selling it, but it was basically a USB memory stick built into a cassette tape with the old Radio Shack box. And it was a copy of the archive as of 2014, 2015 type thing. And now this has been updated because there's been quite a few other things that have been added to it and new stuff that's come out. So
I just want to get back to eBay real quick because Grant was mentioning something. There's an item that I put on my watch list I just got notified of, and it's actually a pretty good deal. For somebody who's looking for a speech and sound pack, there's a person it's selling actually two cartridges. So it's the speech and sound pack and a direct connect modem pack. And currently the price is $45.86 with $12 shipping. So for about $60 you can get a speech sound pack and a modem pack. Although I don't know if anybody's got auto bidding on here. But you might want to look for that for somebody who's looking for the actual speech sound pack. There's one on eBay right now that's going to go off the market in 4 hours.
Okay, and just to mention too, the modem pack by itself isn't incredibly useful because it's a 300 baud modem, but there is a hardware modification because it actually has the 6551 chip in it that you can modify it to become an RS-232 pack, and then you can use it as a 19.2 kilobaud serial port, and you can add a terminal or a PC or something and actually log into the CoCo or transfer files back and forth or whatever you want.
Yeah, neat. A little bit of hackery there.
David, you're awfully quiet today.
I haven't had much to say yet.
Well, I'm about ready to ask you a question here in a minute, so be prepared. I'm sorry, Curtis. Were you going to say, Curtis?
No, I basically finished. It's a lot of fun setting up a multi-user terminal system with Nitrous 9 there. I know Bill and I did it in the day, and quite a few other people have done it too. So that's a nice, cheap way to get in. If you can get both packs for that price, that's
right. Good. Well, getting back to speaking about the CoCo library and the CoCoSDC, this was something that we were hoping to do today. If I was going to be recording the show, which I am not recording the show, but David and I are overdue for an updated video on updating the CoCoSDC Flash and DOS and firmware and SDC Explorer and stuff. So hopefully we'll get to one of those in the near future.
Indeed.
Yeah, you might have to wait till after Monday when I get my new internet.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But not having a reliable internet's put a damper on a lot of things.
I understand that.
Does that mean David can finally beat you at games, though?
That was easy.
He was able to do that before.
I was going to say Chris, I was already kicking his ass most of the time.
So now it's really unfair is what you're telling me.
Good times.
So who's more of a rage quitter, you or Steve? David or Steve?
I'd say Steve's more rage quitter and David's more girly screamer.
That is true.
That is wrong, Curtis. That is so.
He told you that in confidence.
No, I just witnessed it every time I watched the two of them play.
That is very true. That is very true. Steve wouldn't want to play Battlefield with me.
What game is Sue Ellen featured in?
Dallas Quest.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's a good
Trivia
game.
time.
That's a good game.
Is it really?
Partly written by Steve Bjork as well as a couple other of the Datasoft guys.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
All I remember was the title screen with the music and everything. Do 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 do.
Yeah, the second of their animated adventure series after Sands of Egypt.
Okay. Other than the title screen, I don't remember the game. I don't know if I ever played it or played it very long.
Anybody send nasty messages to Sue Ellen?
I'm not going to comment on that.
If I remember correctly, the game does react to swear words.
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
In what sort of way?
Well, I'll let you play and find out.
Yeah.
No
Well,
spoilers here.
Well, let's take this down the rabbit hole even further. Were there ever any adult-only games for the CoCo?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Gee.
I didn't know.
Did not hesitate to say yes.
Wasn't one of them called like Madame Rosa's Massage Parlor or something like that?
That was one. Wet T-shirt contest was another. There's a series of 4 text adventure games by, what the heck was the name of the company? They did adult text adventure games, and then there was a strip poker game, graphical but fairly low res. There was that one that Boise was playing last year, that guessing the random number thing where you're trying to get the striptease to go.
Unlock the picture, yeah.
Yeah.
Nick Mariota said Leisure Shoot Larry.
Yeah.
For the CoCo 3.
That's true.
The strip
You guys
poker
sure
game was
know a
called
lot
Straight
about
too as
that
well.
stuff.
Yeah, I was a reviewer. That's what we'll say.
Yeah, that's a way out.
Oh, so it's professional.
Yeah.
Hey, I was paid.
He was doing research for the website.
Actually, Steve has played one too. If you remember King Dong.
King Dong, yeah. Somebody hacked the Donkey Kong game to have pornographic imagery.
I'm sorry I mentioned Sue Ellen.
That was a rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, but we needed filler, so yeah, it was good. Good move, Ron. Thumbs up.
Might get an explicit tag on iTunes now, but yeah.
Right.
Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and break for a commercial here, and then I'll ask David a question here that I think that we need a answer to, because I was kind of surprised that people had questions on this. So we'll be right back after this message from whoever's.
Hey, this is Bruce Moore, author of Force of Doom, and you're watching the Original Gamer CoCoSDC.
Only the bravest souls enter. Only the most cunning return. Defeat innumerable monsters to ransom the king's scepter, stolen by the evil wizard. Your sword, shield, and wits are your only allies. Pray you find a magical inn as your only respite in the forest of doom.
For the tiny color computer 1, 2, and 3.
November 2017, if you dare.
All right, we are back now.
What a great job with your transitions there, Grant. I'm really impressed.
So, David, I have a question for you. I think that everybody, some people were asking today about how to use Discord and how to use it properly. Since we're kind of switching off of Skype for our day-to-day chats, and we're switching over to Discord, do you want to tell us about how to use Discord, where to download it?
What its advantages over Skype are?
Well, Discord originally was made for gamers, so therefore its system impact is minimal, because obviously you want all your CPU power to go to the games, not the communications app. So that's a big advantage. Skype is very hoggish, but as far as using Discord, its functionality is similar to Skype, except in the way that the fact that you have, when you join a server, like what we've got for the CoCoTALK people, that if you want to talk to other people, you just join a voice channel and people join. You don't call people. It's just you see people chatting, you jump in and join the conversation, and if you're tired and want to leave, you leave. It's just, simple.
Kind of like what I did last night when you guys were talking about OS 9.
Oh, God, that was terrible.
Sorry, I missed it.
Oh, it was terrible, trust me.
Now, one of the features I like is an option that's called tagging, where if you're in the text chat and you want to tag someone, you can do the @ symbol and then a part of their first name, and it'll pop up, and then you can hit tab and it'll autocomplete. That was something that was removed from Skype for the desktop versions, which annoyed me a lot.
Yeah, annoys me too.
But it's otherwise, usability is pretty much like any other instant messenger client. So you can directly message people as long as they're on your friends list. If you want to do voice and video calls or screen shares, currently you can only do it as what they call direct messaging. So that's where you can have up to 10 people in a direct call group, but unfortunately that's it. 10 people. So, but as far as audio, I don't think there's a cap for the server groups. So
no, and that's why we didn't switch to it for CoCoTALK. We were hoping to switch over to it for CoCoTALK, but if you're going to include video, the only way you can include video is with a kind of a private call or a direct message, and there's a 10-person cap on that whole conversation, and we've had more than 10 people in CoCoTALK. So we couldn't use it for that. And we also found that it was a little tiny bit sketchy on the video. Like sometimes the video would break up into pieces and stuff and kind of come and go.
They did add video though for the cell phones this
for the
week.
mobile device, yeah.
Yeah, just this past week.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool, and we're using it quite a bit. And I like the fact that you can have different conversations in different rooms. So it's almost like an IRC chat where you've got different rooms to chat in. So it's not one long conversation like we had in Skype. Skype was just one long conversation, and I do like the ability to organize. You can chat in general if it's stream of consciousness, or you can have one for hardware or whatever the case may be. So, and I think the algorithms and the compression technology is definitely superior to Skype's, I think.
On the audio, yeah. I think the video still needs a bit of catch-up.
Yeah, video needs some work, but the audio is real clean.
Definitely system resources are much less.
Well, I was going to ask about that because I thought Syrian had mentioned that on Linux it actually is quite the resource hog. Has anybody else tried that?
Hey, I just want to say, Curtis, you have to start calling him Karen because it's a hard
Karen?
C.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's been that way since he was born.
Damn foreigners.
Yep. I've just been patiently hoping that Kieran would tell you that, but
he has once or twice, but in a very polite British way.
But Discord I prefer it over TeamSpeak or Ventrilo. which are other really old PC gamer communications apps. So,
but is anybody like David? You use Linux somewhat, so is it laggy on Linux compared to the other platforms, like etc., or more memory intensive or something?
The one laptop I have Linux on, I can't install it on because it's only 32-bit and Discord is 64-bit. So I'm in the same boat as Brett, who can't use it on his laptop. So,
okay, because I remember Kieran had mentioned that it was quite the pig on his Linux system.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just not yet.
Jim Brain is with us in the text chat. Retro Innovations, and Brian Joyce has joined us from Australia as well. Good eye, Brian.
Has Jim started trolling yet, or?
Yeah, Jim's been trolling. Jim's
so basically, Discord is something we would like to switch to if two things are solved. One, the video compression has to be a little bit better because it was breaking up a fair bit when we tried it, and two, the 10-person limit.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's much cleaner sound, etc. So hopefully they're.
And the categories are very helpful as far as conversations.
Yeah, for those who choose to actually pay attention to them.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. You get started on talking, and then all of a sudden you branch to a separate subject. What do you have to do? Suddenly switch rooms? That's not how conversation works. Which is why the stream of consciousness with Skype never bothered me as much as it bothers Steve and these other OCD people.
Yeah, it bothers me.
Yeah,
just you talking about it bothers me. So speaking of Discord, since we're actually not doing any video at all, we probably could be on Discord right now.
Technically, probably could have.
Yeah, and it would literally be a CoCoTALK because all we'd be doing would be talking.
Yeah.
So was Jim there for a minute and then gone?
I think Grant tried to add him, but Jim might not be in a position to actually join the Skype call. That might be why he's trolling the chat.
But as far as clients, which is another nice thing, Discord is on Mac, Windows, Android, iOS, and Linux. So,
and you can also do the browser-based version of it too, which is actually very, very functional.
Yes, you can use the browser.
Does it work on the CoCo yet?
It's low bandwidth. It might work off of that 300 baud modem pack.
There we go.
Jim is trying to join us, it looks like.
Okay, you want to try to bring Jim back in, Grant?
He says he'll try dialing back in.
Yeah.
Well, that's called dial.
Hi, Jim.
Hey.
Welcome to CoCoTALK.
I'll be happy to be here. Happy to be here at CoCoTALK.
Cuckoo for CoCoTALK?
That's right.
It's Cuckoo.
David, did you actually want to do that tech question we've been talking about for the last month?
Oh, the one about the emulators?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we've been discussing is what are the certain limitations or pitfalls of the different emulators. Right now, for sure, VCC is probably the one with the most issues I can think of. Quite a few 6309 instructions that are not implemented, which Wayne Campbell ran into with his basic 09 stuff when he ran into some of the math stuff.
I've hit it a few times too, trying to do stuff too. So
did you say meth stuff?
Math.
Oh,
math.
Okay.
M-A-T-H.
Okay.
Get the drugs out of your mind, Steve. Let's see here. The other thing that VCC has an issue with, which I've noticed accidentally, was the gimme hardware fonts. Not all of them are implemented in the VCC. So that's another annoyance.
There's occasional palette issues too, because we've been fiddling with the ease of use OS 9, and it boots up with the wrong colors compared to other emulators or the real hardware.
Yep, the VDG palettes that you could control with the real CoCo or MAME don't show up right with VCC.
And that's whether it's 1.43 or the 2.01 release. So,
yeah, I can't think of what else offhand VCC has issues with. But But those are the main ones that I can think of offhand. MAME, I really do not like the keyboard translation that they do for if you want the natural keyboard layout. Yeah, I don't like how MAME does it.
Well, both of them actually have problems too. Like in OS 9, Nitrous 9, there's quite a few programs that use Alt keys and Control keys and everything else, and the defaults on both of those basically disable a good chunk of them. So it's kind of a pain in the ass to set it up properly.
Yeah, the Alt keys, unfortunately, because of, like, for instance, Windows, there's so many of the system native Alt functions that you just can't get around. So it's...
You almost need an Alt to the Alt key.
Yeah, that's true. But MAME right now, other than the ergonomic or the natural keyboard layouts, I don't think I've ran into any current bugs, other than the floppy interleave issue, which I don't know if they'll ever get around to that, because that's a low priority issue. It just makes games load really slow, but it works.
And one thing to mention about MAME is actively developed, which VCC unfortunately at this point is not. But it's also a multi-system emulator, so people can change, various support chips that CoCo uses for some other machine, and they sometimes don't fully debug all the machines that share that hardware. So every once in a while you'll get a MAME release that suddenly breaks something that worked perfectly fine, and that's something to be forewarned about. If you keep your MAME up to date, you may have encountered where it actually breaks it until the next release, or you have to go back a release to get it to function again. So that's a big warning to people that are kind of dependent on it. I think the main reason we wanted to talk about some of this stuff is that a lot of people are doing development on some of these other emulators because it's easier to set up and you can run on your main PC with a nice big keyboard and a ton of storage. But you should always test your code on the real hardware, because there's some stuff that the emulators let slide through that won't really work, or have bugs in it, etc. So that's the main reason to go through all of this.
Yeah, Rick Adams started off with that when he was doing Bomb Threat. He had a couple issues. Glen Hewlett had to update Pac-Man when Nick Marentes pointed out about some gimme sparkly features and stuff. So there's a handful of things. And VCC was the worst of them all in the sense that it was very forgiving. It would let things happen that just would not happen on real hardware at all. Yeah,
like semi-graphics for a CoCo 1 and 2 game, I think it'd let goals go through, and that doesn't work at all in a real CoCo 3. And then XROR, Kieran was mentioning there's a bug he was talking about. I don't remember what it is. Do you remember what that was, Dave?
I know he'd been working on some stuff with floppy stuff. I think he had gotten that fixed. I know the 6309 support wasn't fully working, because I know the Nitrous 9 level 1 6309 builds don't work on XROR. The CoCo itself doesn't crash, the whole emulator crashes. So so it's but otherwise, that's right now for me, for what I've tested in XROR, that's pretty much the only issue I know of in XROR.
Yeah, that and no CoCo 3 support yet.
Well, that's
that'd be nice if that ever happens.
Yeah, because he keeps it active and up to date, and he's not dependent on 1,000 other developers modifying drivers under you. So it'd be nice if he could, but that's a lot to take on.
Yeah, Brian Joyce in the live chat saying that he has his CoCoPi and it works very well. He set his up this week. Yeah, there's actually a link on a website, imacoconut.com, where you can download. I don't know if Ron Cline has updated all the FTP mirrors yet, but Ron Cline's maintaining the image to download to a micro SD card to put in a Raspberry Pi 3 to make it a CoCoPi, and it's an optimized installation that runs primarily MAME with the stuff for the CoCo. It has built-in DriveWire and a bunch of other things. So we're definitely hoping to get a hold of Ron. I've only been trying to do this for 5 months now. It feels like, but Ron Cline is kind of the man behind that. So I don't want to talk about CoCoPi until I can have Ron as part of the discussion, because I'm just going to screw it up. But it's a neat project, and I can't wait to show it off properly with Ron's help.
Yeah,
it's a cool thing. It's kind of like, if anybody's familiar with the RetroPie project, This is like a retro Pi for the CoCo. You know, it doesn't have the GUI menu, but it's a similar concept. Is that Richard Lorbieski in a freaking construction hat? Is he just got done working for the Village people today?
Welcome, Richard.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
No, Steve. No. The other thing that I want to say that Ron did just recently upload a updated image. So, and it's based on the Raspbian Stretch instead of Jesse. So,
okay, so you have to update your basic OS. Or does the image have everything? Does the image have the OS on it too?
Yes.
Okay.
So before you update, you have to back up anything that you have on the SD card that you've put on it personally, like documents, disk images, ROMs, and if you're developing on the Pi, then obviously you want to back up your source code. And
right. But yeah, Rick Adams has been really developed bomb threat on the Raspberry Pi, and so a lot of Rick's development process has been incorporated in this latest build from Ron Cline, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I've been using a Raspberry Pi for the last 3 years for doing pretty much everything with the Nitrous 9 repository and the Toolshed project, because since it's running Linux and most of the repository is more friendly for those environments. Windows, you kind of have to do some fudgy stuff to work with the projects, and for $35, the Raspberry Pi it's
a neat little machine.
And by far the cheapest development system that you could play with. So,
okay.
Hello, Wayne.
I'm on this on my phone, and I didn't want to be on my phone. I wanted to be on my computer. I'm going to end this call and keep trying to get on my computer.
All right, good luck with that.
Gotta remember how to get out of this.
You can click on his face and hit hang up, Grant, if you want. A little red hang up button, I think, right under his face there. Oh no, he hung up on all of us.
No, I was being very careful there.
Yeah, so I guess the point on the emulators, and I guess, would you consider the Pi a hardware emulator type thing? Because that's still running MAME, right?
Yeah, it's running MAME.
It's still a software emulator. So that's just one of the things that you'll have to get used to, since even though the Pi it's a microcomputer, but it's using an ARM CPU. But MAME, I believe XROR is on there. So
there's an MC10 emulator on there too.
Yep.
And he's also running a DriveWire server on the CoCoPi, and the other server thingy that works for the MC10 expander upgrade. I forgot what that's called, but it's kind of like DriveWire for the MC10.
And it has no problems keeping up speed-wise? Like, I know the Pi's a little bit slower than a modern PC. It keeps up with emulation fine?
When I was showing it to you guys at one time, I was running Popstar Pilot on it, and the hardware scrolling seemed to be pretty smooth.
Okay,
so
cool.
I would say it's good enough.
And has it got the latest version of MAME too? It keeps up with the MAME distribution?
Ron maintains it. Ron's maintaining everything that's on it, on the image. You download the image from one of our 3 FTP links, which are on my site, imacoconut.com. Rick Adams is hosting one. I'm hosting one. Simon Jonason's hosting one. So we've got 2 US and 1 European link on there. Ron maintains it, and Ron has everything to where it needs to be and has everything optimized. So all you gotta do is just download that image and just burn the image onto a micro SD and you're good to go. Although it's, a few more. Okay, Barry Nelson's trying to call me. I don't know if you want to try to add Barry to the call, if you're friends with Barry or not. I don't know if I can add Barry to the group call. Let me see. I have an option here. Here, I just tried adding Barry to the group call.
Oh, cool.
I think I think anybody can add anybody to the group calls. So.
Yeah.
Hello. The person that originated the call, or everybody called. If they drop out, it still holds until the last person's gone.
So.
There we go. Grant's doing a heck of a job juggling Skype. It's a lot of work juggling these Skype calls, isn't it?
Yes, I completely agree. I understand exactly what you go through now. It's not easy.
Yeah, and trying to talk and keep track of the conversation at the same time, that's really hard.
Juggle Skype, watch the stream, watch the people chatting.
You really do need a producer. You really do.
Try to pay attention to what the people are saying. I'm having a hell of a time here, just sitting back watching this train wreck. Continue to screech off the rails here.
So is our topic of today Skype calls? I didn't know CoCos could do Skype.
Well, we could talk about faces. Mine's the only CoCo generated face.
Yeah, true. Look at that.
Aha.
Look like Al Pacino in that picture there.
Yeah, I did on purpose. Just call me Paco.
Hey.
So what is our topic of discussion for this weekend?
It's totally up to you. You have the floor.
There wasn't any fixed topic for the general show this week. We didn't know if it was going to be happening with some of the issues that Steve's been having with bandwidth.
If we could show the stuff on the internet, you could go through the show us your Tandy color computer thing, group, and then you could see all the people that have posted their color computers, which is kind of fun to look at.
Somebody would have to do a screen share, and then Grant would have to make that full screen. So whoever's able to do that and do a screen share,
can you do it?
Grant could do it.
My stuff is way too messy because the joysticks and everything are scattered all over the place, and so
that's a no.
Yeah. Okay. Apparently, Discord has a problem right now.
So I've been posting to the Facebook groups and whatnot to trying to help some people out getting some stuff running. There's been some people trying to get some old OS 9 games running, and I've been able to provide them with builds of disks and whatnot, and actually one of my large virtual hard drives that's allowed them to get most of their OS 9 stuff running on Nitrous 9.
Cool.
With unfortunately one notable exception.
Cave Walker.
Yep.
What's the story with that? Why is that so hard?
They cheated. They're diddling with the hardware directly.
Overriding
the clock.
They apparently turn on an IRQ, and on regular OS 9 it apparently has an undocumented intercept for that IRQ. From what I gather, Nitrous 9 doesn't understand what to do when this IRQ goes off, and it goes off into La La Land.
Yep, it gets stuck in an infinite loop from what David and I were testing it.
So what does OS 9 do with that signal when it gets it?
I have to go back through the original source, if I even still have it, to see what got changed. I know Alan did a lot of optimizations on the IRQ handling routines in Nitrous to speed up system calls, and maybe he inadvertently took some backwards compatibility stuff out, not thinking it was needed.
Well, so far it's only been used for this one game, but I would sort of like to figure out what its major malfunction is. Interestingly, it runs on VCC, but not on MAME or real hardware.
That was part of what we're discussing as part of the tech talk, was the differences between emulators and how they actually react compared to the real thing. And there's another example I'd forgotten about.
Right, and I just want to throw something out there, Barry, because you asked the question. When you want to know what our topic is, honestly, you need to be in our Discord channel, because we talk about our topics and our show times all throughout the week, and we've got lots of discussions going on. So if you actually wanted to know what the show is going to be about before the show started, that's kind of where you need to be. Is need to be in our Discord chat.
That's a small problem because I don't have Discord.
Well, it's a free download.
Well, yeah, that doesn't mean I have enough social media stuff already that I've been roped into.
Yeah, but or at least monitor the Skype conversation too, and maybe throw a question out there in the Skype group, and we can try to keep you up to speed. But yeah, we do try to plan and discuss these things all throughout the week, and so most of us are on the right page when we go live. But yeah, this week in particular, there wasn't necessarily a topic, and I wasn't even sure if we were going to have a live show. And actually, Grant is streaming the show from his house. So
I know you were certainly having some issues.
Yeah. Which I continue to have. So hopefully those issues will be behind us soon. And then I have so since Barry's parrot is not here today, I have my death cat in here whining. So
my parrot is here. He's just sleeping at the moment.
Okay. let me let this.
He may wake up at any point in time, so any portion of the show may be monitored or recorded
for quality assurance. I'm gonna let the demon cat out. I'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Grant Leighty, and thank you for watching the CoCoTALK with your host CoCoSDC. You got your CoCo 3 yet?
What's going on, everybody? The original gamer CoCoSDC here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com. If you love the color computer like I love the color computer, then you got to visit I'mACoconut.com, your one-stop shop for all of your Tandy color computer links needs. There you'll find links to blogs and podcasts and project sites and emulators and downloads and groups and communities. If you love the color computer, head on over to I'mACoconut.com. That's IMACoconut.com. Tell them the original gamer CoCoSDC sent you. Coco forever, people.
Steve's not coming back, it looks like.
Yeah. I forgot to just let you guys know. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off the call. I'm glad I'm actually stayed awake an hour and 15 minutes longer than I thought I would. So Grant, don't forget to stop the local recording and end the stream when you're done.
Not a problem.
And then I'll get with you later on, and I'll try to get the file from you, and we'll clean it up and turn it into a podcast too.
All right.
And stop the show at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
We could talk for hours.
Have a good show, everybody, and thank you all for keeping the tradition alive.
Yeah, and thanks for being a real trooper here, Steve. I know how tired you were.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Thanks, Steve.
Take care, guys.
Later, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Steve.
Bye.
So I understand some people have been having some trouble with
Steve.
the new. Bye, Steve. I understand some people have been having some trouble with the newest MAME, not the one that I built, which is primarily from Mac, but the latest binary releases out there. I don't know if it's user confusion or whatnot, but there was one person posting on the Facebook group they're having trouble getting disks to mount. It looks like they figured it out, though.
What did you catch? What was the issue?
Well, I think he was confused, which I have sent a message in asking for a feature to be able to disable the software list, because I don't think the software list should be popping up every time you launch a machine, because that software list comes up and it pulls up a whole list of software, most of which doesn't exist on your system. I don't even know how to put stuff into the list, but even if I did, it would display tons of software there. That's a bunch of it I don't run, I don't want to run, I'm not interested in running, but yet this software list displays every time I launch an emulation under MAME. And I think there ought to be a way of turning it off if you don't want to use that feature.
Yeah, that would make sense to me.
Yeah, but yet so far my response from the MAME devs is, oh, no, that's the way it's supposed to be, and we're not changing it. So, unfortunately, I get that a lot.
Yeah, well, they're not into the ease of use thing.
Yeah, this is why... This is why about once every year or 6 months for the Macintosh build, I take a copy of the MAME source and I fork it off and then look for any of the bugs that are in there in that particular release, apply the backport patches to it, and then generally leave it alone for another 6 months to a year.
Yeah, but we need somebody to do that for all the distributions too. You'd need the CoCoPi version, the Mac version, the Windows version, the Linux version. Otherwise, you're going to have the same issues, right?
I do it for the Mac version. My Windows build environment is it's far from ideal. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and my fork of MAME the only thing I did was added 6309 versions of the CoCo 2s and 6309 versions of the DriveWire systems too.
Interesting patch. Although, well, I guess once you run the OS 9 level 1 stuff, that's 6309 under MAME.
Yep, and then with the having the CoCo 3 DW1 with a version of that which has the H on the end, makes it easier to start up in 6309 CPU mode with the DriveWire support.
So what build number is yours based off of?
Whatever the current development branch is. I just keep mine. Well, what the current sources? It's always the current sources.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I found extremely bad luck doing that because stuff breaks and then they fix it and then it breaks and it becomes extremely unstable. So I pull one of the source releases and then I go and hunt down the patches on the popular. I hunt down the issues on the popular systems. As patches come out for those specific issues, I backport the patches into my source, and then hold it at that release level until 6 months to a year later. I found that gives me a more stable, more reliable binary. So right now I've got a version that has the speech pack and the floppy drives are working. I've got a couple of features on the floppy drive which don't seem to be fully functional yet, but seem to somewhat work, which is not in the actual MAME release, although I shared the information with them. And that is, right now on basic MAME release, you have the option of having quad density drives, and that's it. I actually put it in so you could select a single-sided drive or a double-sided double density drive and other types of drives to insert the discs into.
Does your version also support John Linville's sound card like the main one does?
What release did I don't think it does. Well, what release did that come out in? It might.
Yeah, it's a few months ago, but I can't remember what number it was. Do you remember, Dave?
No, I don't.
How can I tell?
It'll be in the slots. If you scroll through, it'll be like game something something something.
I think I remember seeing it. Hold on, let me see. Were there any issues with that when it was first released, or does it work properly? Because that was not one of the things I tested, because it's not one of the things I know enough about to test.
I think it's been tested, because I think John was encouraging people to use MAME for the development platform to write for the card if they didn't have the physical card.
So it was pretty much working from the time it was initially released, then, I guess?
Yeah, it was an existing sound chip in the MAME structure, it just wasn't hooked up to the CoCo properly.
I see. Okay, let me see if it's in here. My release that I'm based off of is a late 186 going to 187.
It was used in the IBM PC Junior and the CoCo Tandy 1000, so that's why it was in there.
Okay. Let me see if it's in here. Because in theory, if somebody wants to take my stabilized build and build it for Windows, I don't take anything out to build it for Macintosh. If I have to make a change to the source to get it to build properly on Mac, I put if-defs in so that I don't touch on the other platforms, I don't touch how it builds on the other platforms. So in theory, I believe this should build on Windows or any like the P, etc. So if any of you have a development environment, I can share my source.
Yeah, it's the under slots. If you keep scrolling through, it'll say Games Master.
Games Master. Okay, let me see here.
Ryan Joyce says it's definitely in 0.190.
Let's see. Now I've got one odd quirk in this version, which I think they fixed, but I haven't been able to backport the fix for that particular item, and that is when I go to change my slot devices, I have to go to the slot device menu and hit reset on the machine there once on my version. And once I do that, there, and now I can change it. So let's see here. Let's try inserting something in slot 3. Let's see, I have RS-232 pack, a program pack, a DC modem, a CoCo 3 HDB1. Not quite sure what that is.
The HDBC is the drive wire stuff.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay. Bank 16K, Orchestra 90 pack, floppy disk controller, speech sound cartridge, Games Master. Yep, it's in there, and then that's it.
Yep.
So
that'd be a nice stable build for Mac people that want to do development for the Game Master cartridge.
Yep, if I see anything in here that is not, and I check it against real hardware, of course, with the exception of a 6309 because I don't have a 6309, but I do have a CoCo 1 and a CoCo 3, and I check against if there's a question about whether or not the emulator is correct, I run the same program or diagnostic stuff on the actual hardware and compare the results to the results on MAME and then fix it. And I actually do that on my build, not just for CoCo stuff. I also do it for some of the other systems. I generally have, let's see here, what am I currently doing at least basic checking on? I've got, okay, Amiga. I have an Amiga 2000, and I also try to maintain the Amiga 500 build as best as I can, although I don't have an Amiga 500, but it's very similar to the 2000. Apple IIc, Apple IIe, Apple II Plus, Atari 800, all the color computer stuff that is 6809. Commodore 128, because I have one of those. Of course, IBM PC, I do some of them, some of them are too badly broken for me to get working, but I have some of them in here. Several of the Macintosh releases. And let's see, TI-99 4A, the TRS-80 Model 100, the Timex Sinclair 1000, and that's pretty much, and the ZX81 stuff. Those are the ones I try to check out and make sure they check out against the actual hardware.
Yeah, wants to volunteer, right?
Is the link to your downloadable binary of it on Steve's site already, or?
My downloadable binary is in a couple places. I have it on a Google Drive, and I also have I send it to Tim Lindner, and he posts it on www.macmess.org. At one point, I was building a front end, but since then the built-in stuff in SDLMess and MAME has gotten to the point where the built-in user interface is fairly usable, so I've stopped maintaining my TCL/TK front end for it, and I now just maintain the binaries and build it for Mac.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's easily findable by people that are coming to look for it later.
What I don't post out there at the current time is the modified source code. But it's certainly available if anybody wants it. Yeah.
Okay, well, that kind of fell in with our discussion earlier about the emulators and the advantages and disadvantages, or some of the bugs that we've been finding in various ones here, so that actually kind of fit the topic quite well. Grant, are we due for another commercial?
Yep, I think we are. We push the button here and let's see what happens.
Hello, I am David Ladd, and you are watching CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live CoCo podcast.
What's going on, everybody? The original gamer CoCoSDC here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com.
I'm not hearing
If you love the color computer like I love the color computer, then you got to visit I'mACoconut.com, your one-stop shop for all of your Tandy color computer links needs. There you'll find links to blogs and podcasts and project sites and emulators and downloads and groups and communities. If you love the color computer, head on over to I'mACoconut.com. That's IMACoconut.com. Tell them the original gamer CoCoSDC sent you. Coco forever, people.
All right, we are now back.
Well, we apologize for talking over the commercial, but we did not know that because we could not hear it.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier because it's kind of the new setup with Grant hosting. He's still learning all this stuff, so we'll edit it in post, I think is the term.
I think that's probably the best way to handle it. I hear an airplane.
It's a helicopter going overhead outside.
Uh-oh, they're after you.
Fix it in the
They're
mix.
after somebody.
So, yeah, I do a lot of work on a bunch of emulators, not just for the CoCo scene. I just posted a Macintosh system emulator that emulates a Timex Sinclair 1000 on the Mac, which I built into a Mac app package. It did not previously exist on the Mac and would not compile initially on the Mac, even as a command line program. So I managed to get it to compile, and then I built it into a .app package so that you can just put it on a Mac and launch it, and it runs. And I do that for a few different things. So I also built there's a VCC package for Mac that's based on the Line Bottler. That's basically the Windows version of VCC that runs under Wine on Mac, and I put it in the bottle and configured it so it would just launch.
Yeah, I've been running that actually, and I've been having some crash problems with it. I'm not sure if it's because I'm running 609 Nitrous 9, and maybe some of the 609 instructions, which we know VCC doesn't properly handle, is causing the issues or not. But like if I boot up a VDG 32-column screen and then I try to hit the home key to clear off of it, it immediately crashes the emulator every time.
Interesting. As I said, I don't usually even touch much the 6309 stuff. So I
got a question.
Really know.
Go ahead, Ron.
All right. So, how does the emulator work? Do they take every command from 6309 or 6809, and then basically give each command an executable routine to so that when you run a program, how does it work?
Well,
Barry or David probably could explain that better than I could.
It basically does what you're talking about, although it does do something. Some of the platforms use JIT, which is just-in-time compiling. So it actually sort of reads the original machine code as if it were like a compressed source code for what you want the program to do, and then it uses that to generate local machine code that does the same thing. It uses memory and other areas to simulate the registers in the CPU, etc. So it's almost like you're running it under an interpreter, sort of. That's basically what it does. And when you try to access real hardware, it intercepts that and then makes the physical hardware on the box behave hopefully reasonably close to what the actual hardware would have behaved like.
So if 6809 has a complete set that's finite, then I don't understand why there's all the trouble that it continues to occur. What are the variables that cause things not to work?
Are you talking about MAME here?
Well, VCC even.
Well, VCC I think is just incomplete at this point. The 6309 core was never fully finished.
Right. Yeah, the VCC is not completed. It is probably, I would say, like 95 to 98% or something done. It works well enough to run almost all of your software, but it's not what I would call a completed project. It certainly is functional, but we recently discovered that there was a particular operand that was not in it, and actually we found
some hardware emulation bugs too.
For one of the operations recently, which we had to put a patch in for. Now, what happens, unfortunately, with MAME is you get and this is why I fork off the source code and then backport fixes. You have all of these, thousands of systems in there, and you have tons of systems that share the 6809 processor code. And somebody will go in for some other system and make what they think is the newest, neatest, most fantastic, neat modification and upgrade to their system, but they don't check their code against, the other systems that share that 6809 core. So they'll end up enhancing their emulation of their favorite system and breaking 3 others. And it is a bit of a problem. Unfortunately, the code on MAME doesn't get reviewed very well when it gets submitted. It just oftentimes, one of 2 things happens, actually, and it seems to be a fickle. Either, it just gets submitted without being checked, or sometimes I'll submit something that's a legitimate fix and I'll have to argue back and forth for a couple weeks in order to get it into the code base. So, go for
and it's not just the CPUs too, it's also the actual hardware chips, like the sound chips and the graphics chips and stuff too, also gets modified.
Why don't they separate?
And I've been coding for the MAME code base for years and years and years, and I jump in and out of it because I get tired of the politics. And so what I have taken to doing in the last few years is I pull off a copy of the source, I fork it, I backport the fixes into it, I report the fixes to the MAME devs that, okay, I fixed this, I fixed that. Hopefully a lot of my fixes will get applied. If they don't, I keep the diff files and the notes so that when I go to pull it off again off of the current source 6 months to a year later, I've got my notes on what didn't get fixed. I still have to go in and apply the fixes myself.
Well, thanks for doing that.
Yeah, because they don't really code freeze it. It's almost like it's a continuously updated branch, and like you said, they don't do a lot of back checking on other systems using the same core pieces that have changed.
Yeah, and that's what I do with mine is I code freeze it, and and then I don't apply very much in the way of new features unless it's like a feature that you really need to effectively use the system. I just try to make it easy to use, and I fix the broken parts. And
well, isn't VCC a better idea than being standalone?
Well, yes and no. Okay. The problem with VCC, it has 2 problems currently. There are fewer devs that are working on VCC than there are working on the MAME code base for the color computer in there. So, and they're doing a lot less time. They're spending a lot less time on it. I have had a very high learning curve with trying to do anything with VCC, and I haven't gotten a lot of response back from the devs when I ask questions about how does this work, how do I add that, etc. So I tried to become involved with it, but I just couldn't get enough background in how it's laid out and whatnot to really get my teeth into it. Other than I couldn't, there was a problem a while back with the keyboard, and I was able to find the issue, and I was able to report the issue, but I'll be damned if I was able to track it down and fix it like I often do with MAME, because the way the code was laid out, I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on with it. And I think part of that is because there's incomplete pieces in there that are sitting there that just don't function yet. So
it's very Windows-centric in its current code base, is it not?
Yes and no. I've pointed out to the VCC folks a couple times as a very easy way to get if you're working and you're familiar with that code, there's a very easy way to get a cross-platform build. And that is, rather than using a wine bottle, which is what I've done to get the current release out there for the Mac users and whatnot, and you can also wine it on and run under wine on Linux. What you can actually do is during the build process, you can go and link it against a wine library, so that what you end up with is your source code thinks that it's running and compiling on a Windows machine, but actually it doesn't need wine then to run, because you're linking against library calls that do the translation for you. So you end up with a Mac or a Linux native binary, but your code thinks it's compiling on Windows.
Hello, I am David Ladd, and you are watching CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live CoCo podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, it's Original Gamer CoCoSDC. You know, gameplay. To get your copy of a Gameplay Goodness Color Computer Gaming DVD today, head on over to 8bit256.com. There you will find several DVDs featuring color computer gameplay videos by the Original Gamer CoCoSDC. So to get your very own copy of a Gameplay Goodness Color Computer Gaming DVD, head on over to the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com and tell them the Original Gamer CoCoSDC sent you.
Well, you know, it's a good thing Steve's gone.
Yeah, we would put him to sleep even earlier then.
That's what I'm thinking.
I enjoy talking about this sort of stuff. I know that a lot of people find it, boring, whatnot. I'm hoping there's enough people out there that find it interesting. I'm also hoping that maybe we can get some more people involved with the VCC project, and maybe get some information going there about some
finishing it up and fixing it up and
I use VCC. That's all I use, and I've really never had any problems with anything that I've used on it. And I've kind of enjoyed the only thing, the interface for the floppies is a little clunky because it takes a long time. You have to go back and forth, unload and load. I suppose that's the best way to do it compared to any other way. But it seems to work fine. I even tried the cassette part of it, and that works good.
VCC is, as I said, 90 plus, like 98% complete. It is generally functional, and it works fairly well, and it is user-friendly. If you are trying to debug code or get something that is accurate to the heart, it's functional, but it's not accurate.
Yeah.
There are actually things that will run on VCC that do not run on the actual hardware. Cave Walker on Nitrous 9 Level 2 being one of them, interestingly enough. It runs quite happily on VCC, but it will not run on MAME, and it will not run on the real iron.
Yeah,
so
it definitely does have issues with the 639 core not being complete, as David and I discovered when we were working on this ease-of-use Nitrous 9 pre-built hard drive image too, with all the multi-view stuff set up.
I think you were saying that hitting the home key off of the 32 columns screen causes it to blow up?
Yeah, it did, at least in mine. Also, we found out some of the palettes on the VDG screens, like if you change the palettes there, it doesn't change them properly in VCC. Like I know we have our REL module right now doing white on dark blue to make it nice and easy to read on even an RF TV out. And on VCC, it comes out black on dark blue for some stupid reason.
That's interesting.
It's fine on MAME. It's fine on the actual hardware. On VCC, it's almost unreadable.
You're saying
that goes by.
Cave Walker does not work on machines?
Cave Walker does not function on Nitrous 9 Level 2 on real hardware. It works fine on OS 9 Level 2 on real hardware.
All right,
so if you want to see Cave Walker run on a CoCo 3 with the CoCo 3 features, you have to boot an OS 9 Level 2 disk, not a Nitrous 9 Level 2 disk.
Okay.
Yeah, until we figure out exactly how to fix it. I mean, I did a little hack so it will run and not freeze the machine, but it doesn't play properly.
Yeah, apparently it's using that interrupt for some sort of timing.
Yeah.
And the hack that was put in there, which basically no-ops out a couple codes that enable the interrupt, now the thing just goes wild and starts running wide open, and it runs actually much faster than it should, from what I understand.
Yeah, David, you tried that, I think, if I remember correctly. And I think even if you do the slowdown poke, it's still running too fast, or?
Well, it's just, it's running still a little bit fast, but then, of course, you're getting a lot of graphical flicker.
Oh, right, yeah, because it's not timing the screen flips between page flipping.
So,
I mean, one way to patch it would be for rewrite it or just change a few of the spots, or just to use the VRN driver, which is what a lot of other CoCo 3 games use for that specific purpose, like Flight Sim 2 and the Sierra games, because it does the same style of thing. But as you have pointed out and Dave has pointed out, it did used to work on almost on level 2, so something in the IRQ handling for the timers, the 60 Hz clock has changed. And that might have been all of Alan's mods when he was speeding up all the IRQ handlers.
Well, it wouldn't be. I mean, it's the only game that sits here and has a problem on Nitrous 9 level 2. So,
yeah, which is why I've been kind of pushing my own head that I would just want to patch it to run with VRN.
I'm fine with that. I don't have a good enough understanding of the game and Nitrous 9 to do that myself on a kernel level. I have written some device drivers and done some patches to stuff. I could probably get the understanding I would need to do that, but it would be a learning curve. I can write OS 9 and Nitrous 9 applications effectively, but when it starts getting into the interrupt handling in the core of the system, I get a little lost. So
understandable. It took Bill and me and Alan and Wes quite a while to get through all that ourselves. So,
how old is MAME?
MAME is
decades.
Yeah, it's a pretty old project. It
started out in DOS, put it that way.
Which is why it surprises me that it doesn't. That they still have all these issues and it doesn't work better than it does. Yeah,
I have an old version.
What was that?
I have a way old version. I haven't tried it for 15 years maybe.
Well, if it still runs and it does what you want it to do, then this may not be a bad thing in MAME world. So,
yeah, because the other issue, actually we forgot to bring up earlier, is that every once in a while when they do an update to MAME, all of a sudden you got to redo your ROMs, even though the ROMs in the CoCo haven't changed in 35 years.
Well, not so much the CoCo, but some of the other systems they'll add. Like this extra PAL chip or something, or a dump for that, rather than using.
But even on the CoCo, there's been a few times in between 0.15 to 0.19x or whatever where I've had to redo the ROMs because the CRC doesn't match. We haven't changed the CoCo ROM since 1986 on the CoCo 3 and 1983-84 on the CoCo 1. So why
what do they do? Mess with the way the ROMs were split up?
Possibly that, or maybe they change their CRC function. I have no idea, to be honest. I just know that it does break every once in a while. You have to go get a redone version of it, which is stupid.
Part of the reason I stayed away from MAME is because there was that ROM issue. At first we didn't know whether or not you can get copies of the ROMs, and it was like you had to go to a website had it, and it was like kind of clandestine,
My ROMs are dumped off of my physical machines.
Yeah, so that's how they were supposed to be done. But there was always people that had their ROMs available because they already did it.
And under the circumstances, I doubt. I'm trying to get official releases. This is another thing that I've been working on the side. I got official releases for the TI-99 4A stuff. Apple released their Apple II ROMs years ago, so those are out there. You can legally run an Apple II emulator. You don't have to be all clandestine about it. And the TI-99 stuff, the ROMs were released several years ago. But the color computer, because of the tie-up between Microsoft and Microware and Tandy, I'm still trying to see if I can get somebody to authorize those ROMs being available. And so far, I have not had much luck, but I'm still working on it.
I wish you all the luck in the world in that project. I also don't hold my hopes high to get all three companies to agree.
Now, the other thing we could conceivably do, the Amiga folks did this because they got generally disgusted with the situation on the Amiga ROM. So there's the AROS project, and they actually rewrote the ROM code.
I mean, that's a phenomenon I'm quite familiar with because that's exactly what we did in Nitrous 9. Originally, Nitrous 9 was a patch program that would patch the existing OS9 code. And eventually we changed enough of the code. We kind of went, you know what, this is kind of a new original thing. It doesn't run on the original machine at all anymore because it required the 609. This is before we Boise and then backported Nitrous 9 to the 6809 again, so that became back in it. But we got it different enough. I think it was about 116 or something like that we decided just to release as a separate OS because we'd added calls and changed calls and changed all the underlying code, so it wasn't the same OS anymore.
But I think it would be technically, possible for most stuff. Most games don't call too many routines in the ROM. They only make certain calls to certain entry points. So if we made something that was compatible with the color computer ROM that had those entry points and the functions were the same, it might be possible to recode the ROM and then have our own ROM that would basically run everything or most everything.
Yeah, I mean, like the DOS extensions like ADOS and ADOS 3, which kind of did the same thing compared to the original Disk Basic 1.0, 1.1.
Right. So
I love ADOS.
Right, so we already have a couple replacement DOSes. ADOS has been released for general use, so that's no longer covered by any copyright. Well, it's covered by a copyright, but it's been released for...
Yeah, Arthur was really nice and released, I think even released extended ADOS 3, which is like a 16K ROM.
Yes, he actually had the harder time releasing the original ADOS. There's a story behind that if anybody wants to hear it.
Why not?
Okay, well, he went to release the original ADOS, and I was inquiring about it, and I didn't realize he was having trouble. And so I had ADOS 3, and I said, by the way, I sent him an email, can I get, what's up with the original ADOS? How come I can't find that anywhere on the download site? He's like, oh, well, the problem is that I've got the floppy disks, but I actually don't have any hardware that can read it, and I'm not sure that they'll read anymore. So I actually don't have a readable copy that I can read. So he chatted back and forth with me for a while, and he ended up, what he did was he mailed me I had for a while in my possession his original, from the author, ADOS disks, which I was able to get to read on my system. So I read them and put them into a DSK file and sent them back to him and then made them available.
Okay, cool.
So that's the story behind that. Because I was going on, I looked all over the place. I could not find a copy. And Arthur was also like, hey, find me I don't care how, whether they've got it legitimately, illegitimately, or whatnot. Is there a copy out there somewhere? And neither one of us could find one. So I ended up rescuing it off the original discs. And then I uploaded it after a while after that. I uploaded it to the CoCo archive, and then the rest is history. So.
Yeah, I mean, there were several versions of ADOS too, so I mean, I did have a copy, but it was an older one than what the final release was, so that wouldn't have been as useful.
Well, this was straight off of Arthur's disc, so it should be the last one that was released. So, but yeah, the good thing about that is the ADOS 3 does not run very well on a CoCo 2 or CoCo 1, but ADOS 1 does.
Yeah.
We should pause for station identification at some point.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that myself. And a reminder to everybody who's newer on the call here, this is going out live stream, so if you can either mute your mics or just not say much or make any noise in the background because it'll go out over top.
All right, here we go with the messages.
Hi, this is Mark Overholser, and you're listening to CoCoTALK, the nation's leading weekly live talk show about the Tandy color computer.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me. It's Original Gamer CoCoSDC. Gameplay. To get your copy of a Gameplay Goodness color computer gaming DVD today, head on over to 8bit256.com. There you will find several DVDs featuring color computer gameplay videos by the Original Gamer CoCoSDC. So to get your very own copy of a Gameplay Goodness color computer gaming DVD, head on over to the Retro Swag Shop at 8bit256.com and tell them the Original Gamer CoCoSDC sent you.
All right, guys, we are back.
So another thing I've been trying to facilitate ease of use to the community with, which I haven't done much work on it recently, but I've got some code that I've been futzing around with, is which is going to be essential, I think, because I think even the that M shell extension to build a boot track that I forget Bill. What's his last name?
Bill Pierce.
Bill Pierce. Yeah, right. I think it still relies on the low-level commands like OS 9 Gen to actually put the track in place. It just builds the lists and puts the modules in position, and I think it still calls OS 9 Gen to actually build the boot. And OS 9 Gen has some issues, which we were discussing recently on the mailing list, that it works fine on floppy disks, but when you go to build a boot for anything that is not a 35-track single-sided drive, it gets a little confused. It's supposed to have code in there to handle it, but it doesn't seem to work quite right.
I think David has some experience with that too.
It all has to do with how the disk basic equivalent ROM is reading the geometry of the drive when it goes to boot, when you type the DOS command. Okay, so you're going to be coming in from a dedicated boot ROM, which is dedicated to boot OS 9, or you're coming in from a modified disk basic that has access to those hard drives. And when it does that, it's presenting it to disk basic, a section of that drive as if it's a floppy. And how it does that and where it thinks track 35 is on the physical device, where it thinks that where the track 35 on the floppy image that it has maps to on the actual physical drive, has to agree with what OS 9 Gen does when it lays down that boot track that the DOS command tries to load first.
Yep.
I can tell you that I remember when I had my original CoCo 3, and I tried to use OS 9 Gen on a 40-track double-sided disk. It would report an error that it couldn't find track 35 or something like that.
Really?
34 or whatever it was. So the only thing I could do was use a 35-track single-sided so that it would do the boot track correctly.
This must have been on a very early version of OS 9. I've never experienced that particular problem.
I just remember it was OS 9 level 2, and I was using config, and I tried to use a 40-track double-sided disk, and it reported an error that it couldn't find the track. And
I wonder if you had the device descriptors and everything lined up right for being double-sided, because I've successfully built. It does have code in there which does work for double-sided floppy disk.
Yep, I've done that too.
And it does build.
But that was in 1989, so I don't know if that was a earlier or later version of Level 2. I bought it all in 1989 from Radio Shack.
I had one that I have from Radio Shack also, and that has always worked, but maybe you got a release that was earlier and they had applied a patch to it or whatnot.
Maybe.
Double-sided floppy disks are supported. But
it's a really large hard drive images where it kind of goes wonky.
Yeah, when you do two heads it can deal with, but when you start doing with 3 or 4 heads or 8 heads, then it gets mightily confused.
Well, I figured it was probably the difference between a 35 track or a 40 track. That's what.
No, because it just uses track 35. Care. It just ignores. Yeah. The only thing special it has to do is has to lock out track 35, which normally is at the end of the disk.
Yeah.
On a 35 track drive, but on a 40 or 80 track drive, it just locks that track out, and that does work. I have used that.
Yeah, I've done that too. I've been able to make 40 track double-sided floppy disks boot without really any issues. So you must have gotten an early buggy version or something, or maybe it was something that you did that you didn't have.
I just know that after I got that error, I just started doing 35 track single-sided boot disks.
And usually that would be would be fine. But I made 80-track double-sided boot disks on the original OS 9. Of course, I've done.
I did that with 3.5.
Yeah, because I did not want to have to sit there and stick one disk into boot and then have another disk with all my utilities on it. So I would use a quad density drive and and have it make an 80-track double-sided boot disk, and I have space for all of my utilities and whatnot to go on that disk, so I can actually do something without having to switch the disk all the time.
That would have been nice to be able to do. I had two 40-track 360K drives and one 720K 3.5-inch drive. And I really wished at the time that I could have made an 80-track disc bootable. But I figured since I couldn't make a 40-track bootable, I wasn't going to be able to do an 80-track.
Well,
yeah, it does work because we did that at work. That was our main boot.
At the latest release versions of OS 9 that were released by Radio Shack, and I think probably the version the day after maybe you bought yours, I don't know. They definitely, that was working. So it is.
So it's weird because when I bought mine, it was 1989, which was like 3 years after the CoCo 3 came out. And they were discontinuing it. They were selling off the ones they had and discontinuing the color computer. So you would think I would have gotten the latest version.
Well, there's two possibilities. Okay,
device descriptor would be my guess.
One possibility is how much dust was on that copy when you picked it up. How long
that I can recall.
how long was it sitting there on the store shelf, and maybe they dusted it off really well?
That's a good question because I don't know.
Another possibility is that it does sometimes get a little wonky with making sure that you have the device driver mode set properly on the device descriptor to match the type of drive that you have. So if you try to make, for instance, if you take a disk and you format it double-sided, but then you forget what and you go and you put it aside and you come back and you boot your system back up again, and your system is defaulting to a single-sided device descriptor. And
well, I do know that.
And you don't go back and change that device descriptor again to double-sided. Okay.
I know that I had to build a boot file that contained the 40-track descriptors, and I did. So and I was able to read and write and format. So I'm assuming that the problem was in OS 9 Gen.
Format will actually go and override the. It can actually override the device descriptor as far as double versus single, I think. But when you go to do an OS 9 Gen, it goes out. It gets a little wonky when it wants the device descriptors to match the physical devices, and if they don't, then it can.
It could be a DD versus D0 too. If you had one descriptor set to double-sided and the other one to single-sided, and then you chose. I mean, they're pointing at the same drive, but you pointed to the wrong one to tell OS 9 Gen to run. That would confuse it as well.
Well, that was why I always made sure I chose the same descriptors.
Well,
okay, so
like I said,
DD_40, D0_40, and D1_40.
Well, like I said, it definitely that does work, and so that's it was either you got a buggy version that had been sitting on the shelf for Lord knows how long, and it wasn't patched, and Radio Shack never really did a very good job of announcing their OS 9 updates. So it was whatever you happened to grab, and then if you weren't watching the community and whatnot, says, oh yeah, there's a patch to this module, and you download it. They didn't exactly send out official notices to their customers, so you either got an early release that had a problem with that, or, like I said, there are a few snags and pitfalls that you could catch you up when you're doing a double-sided disk if you don't watch out. But I want to give an important heads up to all of you guys out there with a CoCoSDC to make a bootable SDC image. I found a very simple way with the existing Nitrous 9 and OS 9 code to make a bootable large SDC disk. And it has to do with the way that the CoCoSDC handles large disk images, and it has to do with the way that OS 9 likes to put stuff on track 35. And the simple answer is this, okay? Make your disk image single-sided, 18 sectors per track, but then as many tracks as you want. And you should have no problem making it bootable.
Hi, I'm Mike Rowan, and you're watching the original gamer, CoCoSDC. And when you're done watching, come over and listen to the CoCo Crew podcast.
Hi, this is John Linville.
And Neil Blanchard.
We are the CoCo Crew. I hope you're enjoying watching CoCoSDC play video games, especially the CoCo games. And when you're done with that, check out our podcast at CoCoCrew.org.
Where can you catch all the latest news and information about the Tandy color computer and compatibles? Oh yeah, I'm talking about the CoCo Crew podcast. Dig it each month. Join John, Neil, and Mike as they lay down the latest news and information about the Radio Shack Tandy color computer and compatibles. Groove to interviews, tech segments, and discussions all about the Radio Shack Tandy color computer. Strut your fine self over to www.cococrew.org and start listening today. The CoCo Crew Podcast. Keeping it CoCo, dig?
David, let's talk to the floppy guy here. Is that correct?
David
or not
disappeared.
I guess he did.
David's gone poof. I can tell you in my actual practice, if you download my virtual hard drive that I have on the CoCo Archive site, okay, or you downloaded it from Google Drive and you go and you do a free, or you check the disk geometry on that, you'll see that it is 18 sectors per track, single-sided, but then it has a whole bunch of tracks. I forget how many tracks it worked out to be.
Basically up to the 128 meg limit, right?
Right. Yeah, so it gets up, I think it gets up very, very close to that. I did is I sized it so that it was, the HDB DOS has a default for its offset where it starts its disk basic virtual disks. So I managed to get it up to the size where HDB DOS would have that offset and fill up that space.
Yeah, that is a good tip, because a lot of the, some especially level 1 utilities, if you're trying to run them under level 2, were based on the old 35 track drives, because there wasn't even hard drives at the beginning there. So that making it all one, basically a really long, lot of tracks floppy, but the same specs as the original floppy drive did, would solve that problem. You don't have to worry about multiple sides or more than 2 sides, I should say. So that would be a nice solution.
Yeah, so whatever you're booting off of, before you build your other disk, when you insert it into the second CoCoSDC drive, edit the descriptor, so that your descriptors that you're putting in your boot and your descriptor that you're using to access that second image, or you're trying to build your bootable disk, make sure to set the sides equal to 1 and set the sectors per track. For track 0, set to 18, and the sectors per track for all other tracks to 18. And then you can set the track count to pretty much whatever you can manage to cram in there, although there's a certain number that I use that fits the HDB DOS offset size. I forget that number off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up. But if you download one of my images, you can look at it and see. And then you should be able to make, use the existing utilities to make bootable floppies without them choking, or bootable SDC images rather, large SDC images without them choking. And practically speaking, you could probably get them to be bigger if you could use more heads and more sectors. But, currently I have every OS 9 thing that I could possibly think of crammed onto that image, and I have yet to run out of space. So,
yep, that's a good tip if you're doing the virtual hard drives. Grant, did you have any other things that you can think of to talk about? Anything you saw on Facebook, or even in the chat and Discord?
Nope, I think we pretty much covered it today. What about Richard or Jim? Do they want to talk about anything on their projects or anything like that?
No, I'm good.
Crickets want to talk.
Might stir up the parrot with that cricket sound there. I don't know.
Now we got a gecko too. He'd get stirred up.
That's funny. I don't know who's doing that, but that's funny.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and drop off of here then, folks.
Hey, well, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, I got some information out there for the community regarding how to make a bootable CoCoSDC image, and discussed a little bit about what's going on with the status of MES, MAME, etc. So,
yeah, and then talking about the emulators was one of our topics for the Tech Talk too, so that kind of fit in.
Well, later, folks.
Yep,
Thanks
later.
Have a happy Turkey Day coming up next week.
Yep.
Us Canadians did it last month already, but sure.
Thanks, Barry.
And I don't know if there's anything much more I can think of. We kind of went through some of the stuff on Facebook. We went through some of the stuff that was on the list. I can't remember. I didn't get a chance to check Discord as much as I normally do, so I don't know what all topics were talked in there, except for the Forced to Doom stuff we covered at the beginning.
Oh, David Ladd's back. He missed the floppy talk.
Uh-huh.
Well, I installed Discord on my laptop, and when I went to log in, it told me that the text chats weren't available. The server was down.
The server was down earlier. I was watching Discord here, and it actually had a big exclamation mark and said the server was temporarily available. It does appear to be back online now, though.
Oh, okay. Good, because
maybe just try again.
I'm trying to grab the file that I think it was, that Bill sent me last night, the source code to Ribs.
Okay. Yeah, it was down for about half an hour. I didn't know what was going on there, but
Bill gave me a clue last night on what might be going on with the reason that the page pause isn't working. So I'm making that change right now, and I'm in the next minute or so, well, a couple of minutes or so, I'll be able to tell you whether the change worked or not.
okay, yeah, and then if it does work, if you want to send me a copy of the code at that point. I did send you one test file too.
Yeah, I got that. I've got to download it. I haven't done that yet because I wanted to make this change first and see what was going to happen with my test program.
Yeah, no big rush. Like I got too busy this week to do too much of anything Coco related anyway, so I'm a bit behind schedule. So no rush.
So
yeah, I haven't done
just
much.
figuring if I get this thing working, because I really hate it when I've got a program that works and then something breaks, and I got to try to figure out why. You know.
Yeah, debugging, not my favorite chore either.
Ron, did you have something?
Yeah, just I've been working on the Rainbow magazine still, and I'm going to condense some of the text down, but I do need more contributors from anybody if you want to write up something about your own, how you guys got into being a CoCo enthusiasts, or anything, maybe even small topics on something or just any old thing. Even maybe one-liners or something. We had talked about that or putting peeks and pokes in there or something. Anyway, I do have a write-up coming from Mr. Moore on his game, and he said he's busy right now, but when he's done, he's going to write something up on how it came about, and we'll put that in there. So maybe down the road as we get closer to CoCo Fest, we can have something published for it.
Yeah, cool. I'm hoping to get some time to help contribute some stuff too. I just haven't had it happen yet. I'm normally in dead season right now where I don't have much work at all, and that's not been the case this year.
But that's a good thing.
Good Christmas for Curtis.
Well, I have more money to spend at CoCo Fest, so that's a good sign.
Hey, Ron, don't forget to collaborate with Steve Batson, who's doing the magazine site.
Yes. Yep. I've talked to him a couple times. Yep. Yeah, and he's taken some of the stuff off what I have and put it on there, I think, or he's going to, or did. I had trouble logging onto that for some reason. and Steve helped with it. So I think I'm okay now.
Okay, everyone. I've just got back. Been a busy morning.
I thought you were just sleeping because we're talking about OS 9.
Can you just wind back and start again because I missed it all?
Yeah, we'll go right into the OS 9 Nitrous 9 discussion for the next hour and a half again.
Okay, there goes my internet connection. No, I've been moving furniture and getting ready for a moving house this week, and I haven't been able to stay on. I just got back.
Yeah, actually, there was a question in the YouTube chat how Gunstar was going, and I just mentioned until your moving stuff's all finished, it's not going. So
going nowhere at this point.
You're no Nick Marionettes. You can't get it done in a weekend.
No, that's right. I can only aspire to that guy.
Did you get your internet connections issues figured out, or?
Well, I'm going to use the phone, tethered phone, like we tested last week. That'll have to do. I can only do minimal internet over the next 2 months. But I'll be organising a proper connection once we've moved into the other place. So it should be back to normal in February, March.
Good.
Okay.
You guys have satellite internet over there?
Well, we got what they call ADSL 2 plus at this place at the moment that we're going to, but they tell us we're going to get this what we call the National Broadband Network, the new NBN, which is half optic, half copper. It's not. A lot of people complain that it's not a proper optical feed all the way through, but it's the fastest we got anyway. So hopefully they're going to install it before I move in. Otherwise, I'll be going on a slower connection.
Have you guys heard of this new network they're going to use? Jet aircraft that's flying all over the Earth, everywhere, and they're going to have transponders on the planes, and it's going to be internet everywhere. You know
Google's been fiddling with that with balloon, or was it Google was doing the balloon thing for a bit?
It's either them or Facebook, one of the two.
Brian Joyce in the chat said NBN is no Google Fiber.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but Google Fiber isn't exactly widespread either.
No, that's the thing. The NBN is only new out here. Not everyone's got it, but apparently they're going to be installing it before the end of the year in the area where our new place is. So hopefully they'll do that. Otherwise, I'll have a slow connection. But at least
what was your old connection?
Yeah, what we call cable, so it's a separate connection. I don't know what the proper terms are. They call it cable network over here. So that's what I have at this old place at the moment. Until I move over there. Hopefully they'll have this NBN.
Oh, it'd just be nice to have you fully moved in so you can get back to work on your projects again.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't fired up the CoCo in ages.
Hey, when you get a chance to put it together, send it to the group I made to show your CoCo off.
Yeah. At the moment, it's not a showable place, but when I'm set up, I'll do that.
Cool.
Yeah, I gotta get on that too, but I have to clean up my area too because it's got a bunch of packed storage crap in front of it right now too. Because I shut my CoCo down before my rush season started.
Hey, Nick, when you plug your CoCo in, do you have adapters on your CoCo, or what's that look like?
Adapters?
You have different voltage, right?
Well, yeah, we run 240 volt over here as opposed to 110. It's a different plug style. But of course, if you have a PAL color computer, well, that's fine. It just plugs straight in. But I am running an American NTSC color computer. And what I found is I can simply unscrew the American 110 transformer from inside the color computer and replace it with a 240 volt transformer from a PAL color computer. It plugs into the same places on the motherboard, fire it up, and it's been working perfectly. So it's working fine with no adapters.
I wonder if that's something you'd want to share and maybe show to put in Rainbow or something?
Yeah. I mean, I could open the computer up and take a few photos and just show that it is possible.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I
Down
thought
the road, you get the time and space to do it,
Yeah. Because our power runs at 50 hertz and yours are at 60, and I thought that would be a problem, but that's working perfectly.
Is it running at 50 or 60 when you substitute the transformer? Then I would presume 50, right?
Well, it's taking in 50 hertz, but I guess it's all rectified anyway. And it's all rectified. It's just DC voltage at the end of it all, so that wouldn't make a difference. The ROMs in a PAL Color Computer 3, the ROMs have been modified slightly so that it boots up in 50 hertz mode, sets the GIMI to 50 hertz. But this one, being an American one, has the American ROMs, so it's booting up in 60 hertz and it works fine.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That way, the whole idea is that I can, since the largest market for color computer software is in the US, I figured it's probably wise I actually have the same computer as the largest market. So
yeah, good idea.
Forget Canada.
Yeah, we got 60 hertz here too.
Yeah, it's the same in Canada. So
the entire Western Hemisphere, I think, is on the same grid, isn't it?
No.
Or is it just North America and Central?
Just North America. Well, and it's spotty. There's actually a map I looked at one time. I was trying to find, somebody had an Apple II that was NTSC, but it was 50 hertz and 240 volts. And it's like weird. But yeah, there's only like 4 countries that have that particular setup. So.
Hey, when you guys have that 240 going, do you have less of a chance of having the line fluctuate and cause problems, or does it matter?
Oh, yeah, I think the fluctuation's nothing to do with 50 or 60 hertz, though. The power here is fine. I never get it to fluctuate. So yeah, I think that's probably more another issue as to the quality of the power coming into the house.
What's the amperage like? Do you have circuit breakers, don't you? Or
yeah, we got circuit breakers.
And what are they rated?
Well,
20?
Older houses have the old fuses, of course, but nowadays they're all circuit breakers. Yeah.
Well, how many amps are they rated for? Like 30, 20, or is it much higher because of 240?
I'm not too sure. It probably is. I don't know if it's up to 30, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that.
Okay, just wondered.
As long as my CoCo works, I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
That's right.
Do you guys get power outages on occasion, or?
Oh, yeah.
Always pretty steady.
Storms, maybe you might get a power cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty common.
Because the voltage is
Around
twice
the
as
world.
much, they can get by with half the amperage to get the same amount of work or wattage out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All our power lines are on, or most of our power lines are all on poles, wires. So I think that's the same in the US, isn't it?
Most places, yes.
Yeah.
Not where I live.
Some places have underground services.
Yeah, the newer
Things like
places
Niter.
go underground.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it looks
same
underground.
here. It's newer areas have the underground, and the old areas have the
same
overground.
here. So, you get power outages because some of those poles and suspended wires have been there so long, or a storm comes and blows something, a tree falls over, knocks out a power line, the usual events of nature.
Or your once in a while squirrel decides to jump across the 2 poles.
It tries to be acrobatic and touch 2 wires at a time, does it?
Bzz.
Yeah, the squirrel's electrifying personality.
Yeah, there's Christmas pudding.
Oh, God.
They're good in soup.
Oh well, there'll be a chick in the tappy when that happens. Better him than me.
Anyway, I don't know if there's anything else much more to discuss here because we're starting to wander into the weeds.
Well,
I think we've been there for quite a
Jim
while.
Brain's here.
I'm
What's
going to
that?
try and do some sketching on my computer.
I see Jim's here, so whether we have our little discussion about the future of the 8 meg upgrade, I don't know.
Well, we'll probably do that off the show, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's still in raw discussion mode, so.
Yeah, that's right, and there's a fair bit of swearing in that, so.
All right, have we killed this one, you think?
I think so.
Yep.
I think it's time to put it to pasture.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a short show.
Only when you show up late.
Well, yeah.
All right, and
37.
And there is no in bumper for me, so I will just kill the stream right here.
Bye.
You should have went around the room.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, we are off of YouTube now.
Thanks for listening to another episode of CoCoTALK. We certainly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, why not check us out on the web at CoCoTalk.live, where you can watch video replays of all of our live episodes, as well as send us feedback and suggestions for the show. We'd certainly love to hear from you. Until next week, I'm the original gamer, Stevie Keep on CoCoing, CoCo forever. Have a CoCo day, and bye-bye, everybody.